Hello, my name's Trace and I'm going to be showing you my journals, some of my nature journals and some of the books I make, and I'm going to show you some of my tools and how I use them, and then I'll give a little demonstration. So here we go, and that's me. I've got so many journals, I just had to choose a few, and I'll just tell you a little bit about some of them. So this was up in Northern Australia, and I chose this one because I really like drawing things a bit bigger and looking at patterns and making nice little comments about them. Here I've written every single beautiful seed pod full of potential. And then some things are like memories from after, like here where we see an amazing snake, maybe a little too close for comfort, and that was from my memory of that moment. And I really like to try and get the feeling of something, and this one, it was fun because I was drawing the underwater as well. Fish darting, water trickling, chilling at the water as the water's spilling. So a bit poetic, I guess you could say. I did a lot of drawings around where I live for the book that I've just finished called Landing with Wings. And you can see I'm getting into the detail and really enjoying the colour. These are just using coloured pencil and waterproof ink. And that's definitely not from where I live, down by the beach. Colour pencil and waterproof ink again. And you're always looking at what's growing in the garden and things about the garden. I chose this one because it really shows the different stages, and as you can see I really like mixing up words and the pictures, and just by drawing this I learned so much about it, how they're preparing and then they're rising to open, they're opening, and then the bees start coming around and then the petals start falling, and then that's it, sort of near the end. So just by drawing that, I spent a bit of time, I discovered all these things, and for me that's one of the absolute beauties of doing nature journaling, is just what you learn from doing it. There's another one with different details at different times. So if you find a plant with different stages of its growth, that's a fantastic one to have a go at. I always like to have my guidebooks, especially small ones, like this is a fantastic local one for where I live, and it really helps me to get to know my local species. Sometimes there's smaller ones or bigger ones, but it's always a great thing to have with me. This journal was done up in Arnhem Land. I went to a weaving camp, which was fantastic, with some Yolngu women, and one of the beautiful things about it was that these women were quite shy and they didn't want any photographs, but it was totally okay for me to be doing the artwork, and so it actually really connected us, and they would all come, the people would come and ask, oh, can you put that bird in it, can you put the dog in, and then they'd start to tell me the name of things, and this is where they were drying the pandanus after they'd dyed them to make the colours for the baskets. And so then, because they saw that I was drawing, they took me out to places that I might not otherwise have been invited, and explained things to me and taught me things in their language as well. And it's also a great memory. Like, I look at this later and I really remember that time, and I can see the words, the lichen worms, and I can just, when I look at that, I can actually remember tasting them and what they were like. Yeah, if I'm bird watching and I don't know the birds, I might have my bird ID book with me as well. These ones I was using binoculars because it was in Northern Australia and there was surely some crocodiles in there with those birds. This one's back in our region. I was lucky enough to go up with a local elder to a lookout point, and she was pointing out various landmarks in the distance and telling us some of the stories from those areas. So we got a 365 degrees area, and I really like it if I can use the local language for places. I think it's really important if we can do that, like for example here, because Mount Alexander is actually the name of a Macedonian emperor, and this mountain already has a name, so to me that's super important. You may recognise this up in Garryword in the Grampians. This one was a very favourite sit spot of mine in Bunurong country, and you can see I've covered it in words, and that's just to help me remember it later, really. Just the more I write and add in there, like the possum's nest and the eastern yellow robin calling, the bearded heath with white bush lollies, and there's me. Yeah, and the beautiful blue of the sea. So this one's done with watercolour paints. And yeah, I just like writing funny little things, like this painted lady with a mysterious interior, and the last hints of colour on this old one. A rainbow remains of an abalone remnant. I went up to Mount Gulaga a couple of years ago, and it's a very sacred Aboriginal land up there. And so you can see this is a memory picture, but it was a really, like, I was really feeling it, and so it's drawn very differently. And I've got lots of drawings in these different styles. This one was drawn from a memory of that day. Like, I wrote down some of the things I saw at the time when we crossed the Wallaga Lake in Yuin country. So we'd come from up here around Mount Gulaga, and then down along here. It was with a group. And then we got on the canoes here and went across, and we stopped off at these middens here. And, you know, watching the pied cormorants drying their wings and stuff. So it's very different, and I've used a thicker pen there. I also like that I might see a point in the landscape, and as I travel through the landscape further, what's close up here might be in the distance as I go, and when we're heading there, and then maybe later that's from there looking back to what was in the other ones. So travelling through country, just seeing the landscape change is really nice for me. So I'm going to show you some of my books. Some of you might have seen them. This book is based on a trip that myself and Greg Waddell did along the Glenelg River for 10 days. And it had such a beautiful effect on me, especially learning so much about birds. It was a beautiful place for bird watching. And so I changed the story to that of a boy and his uncle rather than me, and there they are skimming stones. So it's really, a lot of it's our stories, but you know, for kids, they're much more interested in a story with a kid in it. So you can see my journals are very good inspiration for what comes out in the books. The book after that is Rock Hopping, which is set up in Garryword. And that was based on my travels up there. My end pages have often got a lot of the species that are in the books, and you can see that there's a lot of species that make their way into the books. I don't see them all. I probably see all the plants, but I don't see all the other wildlife. If I don't see them, I can look them up in books and so forth. So here's an example in the book of using the names, the actual names, Solan, India. I don't know how you pronounce that anymore. Known as the chimney pots or billowin, Victoria Ranges. Yeah, so for me it's super important to talk about that and keep acknowledging that. So here's an example of what it looks like inside the books. Where are you going, kid? Nowhere, just here, rambling about, rock hopping. That's just it. I'm not going anywhere or trying to find anything. I'm just being here, just being me. No shoes, no socks. A boy with a beating heart, hopping among the rocks. That's where the name of the book Rock Hopping comes from. And you can see plenty of species in there. And kids love these books, just looking for all the creatures and learning about them a little bit. And then the book I've just put out is called Landing with Wings, and that's set right here in Dja Dja country where I live. Uncle Rick, an elder from here, encouraged me and gave me permission to use some local species names in the book, which is pretty exciting and very nice to be able to do that. So now when I see Guruk, I can say good morning in, oh, little Guruk, in a way that feels good. So this is how it looks inside the book. I have some featured species in here, the golden whistler being one of them. And the wattles, I really featured a lot of wattles, different wattles and yellow things, because for me, I was struggling to like calling this place the Goldfields, because to me, the Goldfields is very much about damage to country. And also, when I think of the Goldfields, I think of it as this beautiful area with all this beautiful golden plants everywhere. Yeah. So I'm just going to show you some of my tools that I've brought along and a little sample of something I can draw. So often great to have a magnifying glass. So I might just show them by using them. So I've got a pencil here that just is a refillable. It's a nice way to not have to keep on buying pencils. What I like about this one is that there's all these different parts to it, different stages, the flowering, after the flower getting a bit old, and one before it's flowered. So I'll just do a really quick example. So I would just do it in pencil, only really roughly, just to get sort of the idea of where I'm going to put something. And then maybe I'll just do another part over here that I'll use a different tool with. I'll use my paints with. Or I could just do the same one, and you can see the difference. So I'm just going to draw pretty quickly just to give you guys an idea of the tools. So first I've used my pencil, and I've chosen something that has different stages. I might be using my magnifying glass at the same time as well. The next thing I'm using is a waterproof fountain pen. I'll just show you inside one that hasn't got ink in it. It's called a TWSBI Go, and it's so easy to fill, just like that. I didn't want to show you on the one that's got the ink in, or I'd end up dropping all the ink out of it. So I've got my fountain pen, and then I'd look a bit closer, and I'm just going to do it quickly so that you can see, but I can see there's a little bit of a ridge there. And you'll see in a minute why I'm using waterproof ink. The thing with waterproof ink is you have to keep using your pen or it'll dry out, but you have to run it pretty much every day or two. And I really like matching colour, so I'm going to have a go at that shortly. And then I'll just put a leaf on. And I really wouldn't do much more detail than that in the pen, because I'm more of a sketch artist, I reckon. But even by sketching, I am having a bit of a look and learning something about it. So I'm doing it twice because I'm going to show you two different tools that I use. Okay, so, and that's a Courier. So when you're doing your journals, of course, you've got certain things that you might put in there, like the date, the time of year, what you can hear, where you are, and so on. And for me, I like to get a bit poetic as well. So the next thing I'll do is use my eraser. I just need to make sure that the ink is dry, because if it's not, it will smudge. So after I've made sure that it's dry, the first one I'm going to use watercolour pencils on. And I'm going to use this, which is a really favourite tool of mine. It's you can see there's a brush at one end, and at the other end it's like a little bottle with the water inside, so you can just fill it up. And I love this, so I don't have to keep taking around a little jar and trying to manage that when I'm out and about. So when I'm using the watercolour pencils, I probably could have drawn it a lot bigger so that it's going to be easier to add more details. You can see it's a bit darker there. And the trick is, for me, is like mixing up your colours. I always choose the colours that I'm going to use beforehand and have them in my hand. Just have a good look first. I might have to pick some more up, but generally I've got them in my hand, so I'm not someone you want to share colour with. So after I've done it in pencil, I could leave it in pencil, but if I was doing that, I'd probably use a different sort of pencil that's a bit more, it's a bit nicer on the paper. These ones, I would then get my brush and smooth it all down. Yeah, so it's nice to be able to try and match the colours. I can see the greens not quite. And to clean my brush, I can just do it on the side. And then it's ready for demo number 2, which I'm going to use my watercolour paints with. So if I'm not going to wet something, I can use a pen that's not waterproof, but these ones I'm wetting. So I'm using a really nice paper that's it's actually, I'll show you, Art Spectrum, and it's a draw and wash pad, and that's 210 grams, acid free. So I've got my little paint kit. These are lovely to have a little paint kit. And you can see it's got a little area for a palette. And I've already got some colours mixed up here as well. So I can always check my colours. Might make it a bit darker. And the beauty when you're using the paint as opposed to the pencils is like you can sort of add more layers of paint as you go. It's trickier with the pencil. I'm just making that a bit stronger. Wiping that wherever's handy. Sometimes it's my boot. Actually, quite often it's my boot. Yeah, so you can see they're a little bit different looking to each other, but similar. And if you want to get some art supplies for sketching, my favourite place to get them is at Larry Post, and it's larrypost.com.au, and they specialise in outdoor sketching tools, and this pen is a TWSBI Go, and you can tell them that I sent you. They might like that. Alright, so happy sketching, and I hope that's been of some inspiration for you to have your own go. Bye.